Man of the year. He's man of
Hello,
America.
Nashville. I'm not going to say a single word about the Tennessee Titans record against the Indianapolis Colts because I was a punter, and there's no reason for me to talk about that. With that being said, we did not punt much against the Tennessee Titans, so you probably have no clue who I am to begin.
All right, boys. NFL draft coming up, Kurt.
Real
Big day.
quick. Yep. I think I enjoyed that draft the most when it comes to sports. Watching the NFL draft and the coverage, I think that's my favorite one overall.
Do you think it's just because it's so big because that the players step in and are immediate impact players?
I was actually that was part of the reason I think I like it as well. It's because if you're drafting someone in the first round, you're pretty much drafting a starter. Like you don't really see a lot of first round picks, second round picks. I mean, even third round picks that don't play right away. Maybe for a few contenders, you get draft them for backup positions, but majority of those guys are stepping into a role immediately.
Well, it's because they're all you have to be 21 to enter it, or you have to have 3 years in college, I guess.
Something like that. I don't know if it's I'm trying to think. Is it 3 years in college or is it 20? I think it might be the age.
I can't remember, but it's that they're already older than the other sports. Like the other sports, you're drafting 18, 19-year-olds, so they got time to develop. Welcome back, everybody, to Taking All Bets, the Wednesday edition, episode 15. 15 already.
Yeah,
wow.
15.
Moving.
Wow.
So NFL draft coming up. Later in the show, we're going to get into a mock draft, if you will. We're going to select our top 10 or who we think is going to go in the top 10. Maybe some potential moves, who's trading up, who's trading down, things of that nature. But first, we'll get into a little baseball. George Springer of the Toronto Blue Jays, we just got a notification, is not in the starting lineup for Tuesday night's game. He was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, supposed to be playing in this homestand. Who knows? Maybe Wednesday night, Thursday night, he will be. But yeah, another delay for George Springer's debut, Kurt.
Yeah, I was quite disappointed. I was really looking forward to seeing him today. Obviously, recording this on Tuesday evening now, but earlier in the day, I got that notification. I think I saw it on Twitter. A Jays reporter broke it on Twitter and just said multiple sources. He was running and the quad still wasn't 100%. The debut will have to wait. And I was like, come on, are you serious? This is our top free agent prize. Still haven't got to see him play. And they're still battling those injuries. They keep telling us how close these guys are, but I just want to see this team at full health. Like the talent is there. They're still hovering about 500 baseball. And you just got to think when these guys get back in the lineup, you'll really see things start to click.
Yeah. I mean, at the current state of the AL East, and of course we're so early into the season, you don't want to start making projections. Like we said a few episodes ago that we think the Yankees will still make a climb here, but it is not out of the question right now, when the Jays get healthy, for them to be looking at some point in the year first place in the AL East. They're only 3 games behind Boston. They're tied with Tampa Bay right now. Toronto 10-11, Tampa Bay 11-12. But yeah, they have in the ALS, they have our AL
AL East.
I was still thinking about that
Floyd video. That
Floyd video. Yeah. AL East, second best run differential in the division. So things are looking good.
Yeah, another thing too. I think I've touched on this before. I think when it comes to baseball, especially, you play each team 18, 19 times in a season. If you win your division matchups, you're probably going to win your division. And the Jays so far this year, they've won every single series within their division except for that 2-game split in Boston. Obviously, it was a short one. It was only 2 games,
Mhm.
but they split it 1-1. They took both series from the Yankees, and they just won in Tropicana. They took 2 out of 3 from the Rays. So you gotta like what you're seeing. If you're beating up on your division opponents, that's a great recipe for success in when it comes to baseball, just because of how many times you play those teams during a year.
Yeah, and even if you don't get top spot in the division, as long as you make the playoffs and maybe you're a wild card team, knowing and having the confidence in yourself to play against your divisional rivals and perform well and maybe beat them, they seem like one of those teams that could go on a sneaky playoff run because they
Yeah,
do perform so well against their own division.
yeah. I mean, I'm still not convinced with the starting pitching, but like I said, we haven't seen their starting rotation at full health, right? Like Nate Pearson was planned, and he was like penciled in as a big part of that rotation, the 2 or 3 guy. So getting him back and seeing if they can stretch him out a bit here, I think like if he comes back and throws like we know Nate Pearson can, that could be a huge boost. So and also like I know you're talking about if you get in, but I feel like it is more important to try and get that 1 seed, just because now we're back to it's not last year where you get the 3-game series, right? In the wild card
Mhm.
series, it's just that 1 game. So if
Mm.
you can avoid that 1 game, obviously anything can happen, but if you can avoid that 1 game series and actually get a 5 game series in round one, you have a lot better opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, anything can happen in a wild card game. Like we saw um last year, I think it was game they only lasted 2 games against the Rays, correct? The
Yeah,
Jays did.
the Rays took 2 straight.
And so you send Ryu to the mound and the guy just like he just breaks down completely and the Jays can never just claw their way back into it. So that's your best starter. So that's to your point that if it's only 1 game to decide it and you go we're sending our best starter and he has a bad night, your season's over.
Yeah, there's your season right there. So yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you can, obviously, you want to get that division title. You want to try and get a long playoff stay. See if you can get the most games out of it. Because 1 game series, you never know. Like you just to your
Mhm.
point exactly. It's you can have confidence in your starter, but just one bad start and your season's done.
Yeah. You had another thing written down here about Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. So I saw it's obviously the last time this happened. Shohei Ohtani was taking them out as a starter. So this is the first time since 1921 a starting pitcher has taken the mound, but also leading the league in home runs since Babe Ruth. 1921. So what is it? It's almost 100 years.
That is 100 years.
Yeah, like that's insane. I saw that on Twitter. I woke up the next morning, or actually, it was before the game. They were because a lot of sports outlets were discussing that, and it was just really cool to see. Like that's an awesome stat because you don't see that with the DH. He's an American League guy too, right? That's what makes it even cooler.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know his ability to pitch and hit, but just in the American League with the DH to see a pitcher leading the league in home runs and then putting on a dominant pitching performance like he's done all year as well, that was pretty neat to see.
Well, somebody earlier in the year they were showing it might have been the same game. I could be wrong on that. Um, but he was the first pitcher I think ever to hit 100 miles an hour on the radar gun in the same game that he hit a ball 100 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they showed a stat. He's hit like out of the top five, or this was early in the year, but out of the top five hard hittest balls, he had hit 2 of them early in the year or something. He's still so like that just shows his talent at both on the mound and at the plate.
Well, when you watch him, like he swings so aggressively, like he's swinging for the fences every time,
Yeah,
which is odd because he's such a big guy. And usually big guys, like, they don't have to swing that hard to kind of get it out of the park, but he does it and he has success with it. And I mean, when he first came over, or when teams were first kind of looking at him, he was compared to Babe Ruth.
I was
I
just
mean,
going to
that's what they
say,
said. Is he the next Babe Ruth?
yeah, didn't they call him the Japanese Babe Ruth, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah. So that's what I thought they called him. That was his nickname when he came over. But obviously he's battled some injuries. But I think if he stays healthy in that team now with Rendon as well, like Rendon, Trout, and Otani, that could be a pretty dangerous, a sneaky team in the American League.
Yes.
It's
I
about
think
time
so.
Mike Trout gets help too. Right? Like that guy is
Yeah.
one of the best we've ever seen, and there's not really been any playoff success at all.
I think Trout is right now. Uh he's he's for sure in my mind top 3 all time, and he may be the GOAT of baseball. The only other two I would throw into that conversation would be Babe Ruth. And people might have a problem with this, but Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
Those would
no,
be my other two.
I don't disagree with you. I think a lot of people have problems putting Trout in that conversation. They shouldn't. If you look at the stats, there should be
Yeah.
no reason not to. But they bring in the playoff success. Like baseball of all sports, you can only control so much. You're only able to come up to the plate 4 or
Mhm.
5 times in a game. He can't control anything else. His defense is incredible. He's a 5-tool player. He hits 300 plus every year, 25, 30 home runs, 90, 100 RBI. He's top 4 in MVP voting every year, if not the winner. Like, I don't know what more you want him to do. They have just haven't been able to surround him with enough talent. And that's what it comes down to. Like you said, the stats are there. He is probably going to go down as top 5, top 3, wherever you want to place him. He's one of the best.
Yeah, and it's like Barry Bonds was the same deal. Like, he never had help. Um Guy who's a 7-time MVP. Um and just never got it done in the playoffs. Went to the World Series once against the Angels with the Giants. Was by far the best player in that World Series. Um, so yeah, Trout's kind of in the same boat. He's just always been the best and just never had enough help. But now the Angels have invested in some real good talent. They have younger guys coming up too. So who knows? This could be some sort of sustained success. I just had this idea, Kurt, because we see, Babe Ruth there, and you get thinking about all timers and blah blah blah. What if one day we draft our all-time MLB team? What do you think?
That would be fun. I'm definitely in for that. That would be it'd be fun to see what our lineup comparison, what they look like, because
Yeah.
I feel like they'd be similar, but baseball you can go a lot of different directions with the style of your roster. So that would be a fun one to do.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna write that down. We're definitely gonna do that. At some point. I'm already thinking of guys that I want to draft on my team. Um, Speaking of drafts, as we said, the NFL draft is coming up. When is it? It will be coming
Thursday.
is it Thursday?
Thursday is round 1, and then it continues through till Saturday.
Okay. So Thursday NFL draft. So we're gonna do a little bit of a mock draft, talk about who we think is going where, if there's going to be any type trades, teams moving up, teams moving down, our thoughts on what we think our team should be doing during the draft. So, Kurt, we'll start with pick number 1. Not really a debate. Who do you have?
Yeah, I think we're both gonna have the same one. It's pretty straightforward. It has been for forever, really, since this draft was being talked about. Everyone,
Yeah.
since this guy stepped on the field, but it's got to be Trevor Lawrence, right?
100%.
It's easily no more. It's Trevor Lawrence. He's the guy from Clemson. Obviously, he's incredible college career. He's going number 1.
I mean, people thought that if Trevor Lawrence was able to be drafted last year as a sophomore, that he would have gotten taken before Joe Burrow, that he would have been the number 1 pick still, even as a sophomore. but now he's a junior. He's draft eligible, and yeah, he's going number 1 to Jacksonville. I'm just glad he's not going to the Jets. Speaking of the Jets, though, who do you got? The Jets taking at number 2.
Yeah, this next guy will be going to the Jets, and it's going to be Zach Wilson from BYU. I think no more Darnold there. They need a QB. He's the guy. He's the next best quarterback available. He's going to be going to the Jets.
I agree, 100%. 6'3" quarterback out of BYU, another junior. Going to be a problem in the future for the Patriots. I'm not a big fan of that. But Zach Wilson is going to go to the New York Jets. Number 3, again, not really much of a debate here in the last few weeks of who is going to go at 3, but there is a debate of should he really be going at number 3? That's the debate. So I got Mac Jones from Alabama, a junior quarterback, going to the 49ers. What do you think, Kurt?
Yeah, I have Mac Jones as well. I agree with you, though. I would not be leaning in that direction if I were them. He's not my favorite. He's not the guy. I think if you're investing, they traded up for that pick, right? I'm trying to think, do you remember what they gave up for that?
I can't remember. They traded it was the Dolphins pick. The Dolphins traded down. I think they traded down. They might have given up another first round pick or something like that. But yeah, they traded up to take Mac Jones.
And I just, obviously he hasn't been taken yet. And I've heard a little bit of Trey Lance as a possibility. And I know Kyle Shanahan said, this was the quote, we have 5 quarterbacks that we could take with this pick. I just don't buy it. There's been too much talk around this. I feel like you can pencil Mac Jones in there.
I mean, in my mind, he's the 5th best quarterback in this draft, and he's going to be taken 3rd overall. But he's a 5th best quarterback, but he's not a top 15 prospect in this draft, I don't think. Like, this pick has a lot of bust written all over it, and like a lot of opportunity to go down as one of the worst picks in NFL history.
It kind of gives me Mitch Trubisky flashbacks.
Some Ryan Leaf flashbacks.
No, but like, you know how they traded up? Was he 3rd as well? Like it gives me flashbacks trading up for Mitch Trubisky with other guys on the board. We're looking at you, Patrick Mahomes. Like he was still, and Deshaun Watson. But you know what I mean? Like trading up with other talented guys. So yeah, this is a big question mark. But moving on to number 4, you got to say, use the old cliche. This is where the draft kind of starts.
Yeah, I agree. The Atlanta Falcons have the number 4 pick. Who do you have the Atlanta Falcons taking, Kurt?
This one, I had not really a hard time, but I was like, it depends what direction this team's looking to go in, because the best player on the board left right now is Kyle Pitts. And I think that's who they're going to go with. Best player available. It gives the Falcons, gives Matt Ryan another weapon. But like, if you're looking at the build of that team, they're not one weapon away from contending. You're not going to win that division. You're still the 3rd at like best. You're the 3rd best team in that division. Like the Saints and the Bucks are better than you. So I don't necessarily rule out like a tackle or even a quarterback. Like, a lot of your guys like Julio and Matt Ryan are aging. And by the time, like, I just don't feel like they'll be ready to contend when those guys are still producing like they have been. So this one, I'd still, just because his talent is so superior to a lot of those guys that are on the board, I think it's going to be Kyle Pitts, but there are other directions they could go in.
Yeah, I think, well, I saw a report today that the Falcons are taking calls and they are listening to offers for Julio Jones. Who knows? I mean, since the Super Bowl, this formula that they have just hasn't worked out quite the way they had hoped. I think Kyle Pitts would help. I think that it gives Matt Ryan another target. It helps the offense out. It definitely makes them a better team. I personally think that it is in the Falcons' best interest to maybe trade down, pick up some more assets. Like you said, they're not one weapon away. So maybe you trade down, pick up some more draft picks, and you just kind of start rounding out your team. You start building from the ground up. That's what I would do. But if the Falcons do keep the pick, I agree. I think it's Kyle Pitts. Yeah, I think I think you're right when you say he's the next best option on the board at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
he's kind of just the best player that's there at like and the thing is too, if you're talking about trading down picks, there's been a lot of teams that have shown a ton of interest in him. Even Jerry Jones is one that said he was what was the word, infatuated with his skill set. So they say he could be one of the best tight end prospects ever. So it's not like it's not going to be a bad pick. I just don't know with the build of that team if it really helps them a ton.
right,
But
I agree.
yeah, but we can move on to pick 5 here.
Yeah, who do you got?
I think after seeing that injury to Joe Burrow, it's got to be Penei Sewell from Oregon, offensive tackle. They got to protect him, and they've got some nice weapons now. Like T. Higgins he's a nice receiver there. I mean, they could go receiver. Jamar Chase, I've seen a lot of people picking him to go there, but I just think it's too important to protect Joe Burrow.
100%. I mean, it's the blind side line. You know, quarterback's the highest paid player. Left tackle, O line, they're the second because they got to protect them.
Yeah.
So it's like buying insurance on your big investment. So
yeah,
yeah. I agree with you. I think he's the pick to go number 5 to the Bengals. 6'6", 330 pounds. Fuck, that's big. That's so big. That's such a large human being.
He's a large human.
Oh, geez. All right, number 6. The Miami Dolphins, another divisional rival. They got the 6th overall pick as of right now. Who do you got, Kurt?
And this is where we were talking prior to the show. There's a lot of teams I feel like I'm not convinced they'll keep their picks. This is one of them. But I made my mock draft assuming they do. So I'm going to go with Jamar Chase. Again, we're kind of going back to the talent level. He's probably the most talented guy left at the board at this moment. He is an incredible talent from LSU, wide receiver. But I think they just need some weapons for Tua as well. You didn't really see enough of him last year. I mean, a lot of people are already jumping on them to move on. They won't. Well, I mean, I guess they wanted him packaged for Deshaun Watson, right?
That's what they wanted. Yeah.
But I just think you got to give him a chance first, and getting him a number 1 that's a good step to do that.
I agree. Yeah, there's no point in having a quarterback if he has no way to throw it to, right?
Yeah.
So, Jamar Chase is my pick. We haven't disagreed on a single pick right now, so this is probably really boring to hear. Just one guy saying this while I take on, I'll be like, yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with that. Number 7, like you said, at 4 is where the draft really started. At number 7, it starts to get really interesting on what teams could do. Right now, Detroit has the pick. There's rumors that they may trade down and that even the Patriots may be the other team trading for that pick. But right now, as we speak, the Lions hold the pick at number 7. So what do you see the Lions doing? Who do you think they're going to take? Do you think they're going to trade the pick? What do you think what is going to happen?
So I'll start by saying, like I said before, I made my mock draft without trades, but this is the one I definitely think they should be trading down. There's a lot of directions again that they can go in because they're not one player away from contending. And I think I'm looking at the tiers of players, right? If you're sorting these prospects, a lot of those top tier guys are now gone. So if you're looking at it, you could trade down if you're them. There's a guy that one of those lower teams really wants, get a couple more assets and then fill in those needs because they still have like quite a bit of needs on that team, right? You could go defense here. You could go wide receiver because now you lost Galladay, you lost Jones, even quarterback. Like if you like, are you
Yeah.
convinced Goff can be that guy? I'm not. So there's a lot of directions, and I think that's their best I think for the future, just the build of that team. I was listening to a lot of people talk about. You remember that interview Dan Campbell did? Just
Vaguely.
yeah, but he was kind of like a talking about in the trenches, a rough like just the type of interview he was giving, the build of that team. I could see them building through the lines. So that's another if they want to get tougher. But
Yeah.
I'm right now I have penciled in if they do keep the pick, Jalen Waddle from Alabama. Just losing those two wide receivers, then you have TJ Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, and another talented young wide receiver. But like I said, I think their best option would be to trade down, get some more assets, and keep building that team.
Okay. I like that. Um, I would say they fall into the category of the Falcons, where I think that they are better off trading down and just collecting assets and just building slowly but surely and building from the ground up. I believe you're right when you say that there's a lot of different avenues that they could go down with this pick if they decide to keep it. Um, I'm looking like guys like Patrick Surtain, um, Mika Parsons, Rashawn Slater, like building through the line. Like those are three different positions that you could all Trey Lance. Those are four different positions where you could all see them possibly um, looking to pick.
Yeah, I totally agree. Those are I looked at I'm looking at this board. I looked at all those guys. I was like, honestly, this team could go in so many different directions, and that's why I think they will trade down. I
Yeah,
think we'll get into later about your Patriots and stuff, but there's a few teams I could really see trading up for that pick. That it would benefit them more, definitely more than it would benefit the Lions using that pick. Like if the
right,
Lions could get assets and kind of get a few of these positions, cross them off the needs list, it's more beneficial than taking one guy there.
right. Let's move on to pick number 8, the Carolina Panthers. What do you got, Kurt?
I gotta go with Rashawn Slater here. I think I
Okay.
watched a lot of the Panthers against the Bucks, and they don't have the strongest O line. Another thing too, you got Sam Darnold now, and remember he said, "Oh, I'm seeing ghosts out here." Like you want to protect that guy. You don't want him seeing ghosts. So I think it's important if they're gonna have any success and help him kind of find that talent, like he used that talent, find his game again. You're gonna have to protect him. So Rashawn Slater is the pick here.
I like that. Um, I like I agree with you on Slater. I think that again, like we saw it in the Super Bowl, where how important an offensive line is, and we keep harping on it, but really just how you need to protect your quarterback and you need to give lanes for the running backs. And if you don't do either of those things, you're not going to win a football game. And so, one of the safest, if not the safest move in football when it comes to the draft is drafting an offensive lineman. Don't you think?
Yeah. And also like a team like that, they have all right receivers, but you have McCaffrey. So if you have a good O line, you're going to be able to control the tempo of the game by using your run game because he's just so talented. He's so good, and he's such a weapon through the passing game too. So protecting Darnold and creating lanes for him, you could probably sneak a few wins, like at
Yeah.
least a few more than you're projected. Right? Obviously, that's a tough division with the Saints and the Bucks there, but you can. I think O line's got to be the direction they look.
Yeah. So I agree with you on Rashawn Slater. Let's move to pick number 9, currently held by the Denver Broncos. What do you got?
I'm definitely going quarterback here, and the best one available is Trey Lance. This one I was pretty certain. I think it's going to be Trey Lance here.
Okay. I will go quarterback, but I will go Justin Fields.
Okay.
I believe Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is. I think he's the better quarterback of the two. And if I was the Broncos, and I was the GM, I'd be taking Justin Fields at this point. What about number 10, rounding out the top 10 for this mock draft, the Dallas Cowboys?
I'm going back to Alabama here with Patrick Surtain, the corner from Alabama. Coincidentally, last year they drafted Trevon Diggs, who they played together in Alabama, the other corner from Alabama. So I'm going to project them putting them back together here and kind of shoring up that secondary, which was not good last year. So this hopefully helps that out a bit because they need some help on defense.
See, I was thinking Parsons at linebacker to the Cowboys, but yeah, you may have changed my mind. Parsons, Surtain. I'm gonna go Parsons still. I think we're thinking along the same lines of that defense was atrocious
Yeah.
last year, and they just need anything to help them. So I'll take a linebacker. You take a corner. You know,
Wait, yeah, we're on the same page here. That defense needs help. I mean, you have to address both, like linebacker, both positions either way. But yeah, I just had Surtain there. So
Yeah.
Parsons another guy I really like in this draft. So we'll see.
I'm gonna ask you first. What would you like to see the Buccaneers do, if anything?
You know what? This isn't my favorite part about our offseason because usually every team comes in with a need, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how we address the offseason and bringing back all 22 starters on offense and defense is huge because now we don't really have any major needs. We can go strict best player available. You can obviously, I wouldn't mind adding some more depth on the line. We could even go quarterback. Believe it or not, like you could let him sit for another year or two. Like if you draft a young, I just don't think they'll do that in round one. I'm thinking a more realistic possibility could be running back. Both Fournette and Jones will be free agents. We did draft Keyshawn Vaughn last year, but I don't think he showed enough. If you get a first round talent of a running back, I don't love taking running backs in the first round, but I mean, it's the 32nd pick.
Yeah.
So if you get someone like a Najee Harris, something along those lines, that could be a direction they go. So I'm thinking running back here.
Okay. I really like your idea of taking a quarterback because who better to learn from than Tom Brady?
Yeah, I think watch for that in round 2 though. I just because round 1, like I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I feel like you're trying to go back to back. I feel there's positions you could draft before quarterback, but that's what the best thing about bringing back all those guys is you can draft the best player available. And quarterback, you're going to need one in the near future with Tom Brady's age. So there's no one better to learn from. So I expect them to somewhere in this draft in the first 3 rounds to take a quarterback.
Hopefully you guys don't have Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady situation going on where you got the coach thinking one way, the owner thinking another, and it causes turmoil within the organization.
I feel like it won't go down that road, but yeah.
Yeah. For me, the New England Patriots currently have the 15th overall pick. And I've seen so many mock drafts like we talked about just a minute ago where they see the Lions and they see the Patriots making a trade and the Patriots moving up to take a quarterback at the 7th overall pick. Now, like here's just one mock draft here. They got at 7, if the Patriots were to trade up, they got them taking Trey Lance. I'm not convinced that you couldn't get Trey Lance at 15. I'm really not. And so to me, now there is the saying where if you want a guy, just go get him. Doesn't matter what you give up for him, go get him. If you think he's going to make that much of a difference, go get him. I have said this previously that I think Justin Fields is the better quarterback between him and Trey Lance. And so if I was to trade up to 7, I'd want to get Justin Fields. That's just me personally. If they are set on taking Trey Lance, I just don't think that you need to necessarily trade up for him, because now you're putting yourself, you got to pay him more now, because the
Yeah.
draft is all based on wherever you're picked, that it kind of sets your salary in that way. So if I was Bill Belichick and I was the New England Patriots, it's tough. It's really, really tough. I would stay at 15. Maybe you trade up a few spots if you think you can still get, because right now they have this same mock draft has Justin Fields going at 14. So it's one of those things. Do you gamble to stay at the spot you're at, hope Justin Fields falls to you? Because there's a lot of people thinking that he'll fall in this draft, and you get him for way less money than you would at 7. I don't know. I personally, I would stay at 15, and I would just take what I got.
Yeah, there's a lot of experts have been a little all over the place in this round 1 of where those two specifically, Trey Lance and Justin Fields, are going to end up. But my one thing, because I know you've been pretty high on Justin Fields for a while now, just based on our discussions, but the Patriots have been one of the most fun teams to watch this offseason because it's just so unlike them that it's so neat to watch, because you would never, the amount of money they spent, that's not the old way, but it's awesome to see, right? Clearly they realize times are different. We have to invest in these positions. Last year wasn't good enough. We need to be better. Now you see them talking about trading up for a QB. You don't hear that from the Patriots.
No, they always
it's all
trade
about,
down.
yeah, it's all about trade down. Well, he'll learn the proper way. We can get our scouting department. We can get these names that you've never heard of and turn them into quality players, right? And before, obviously with Brady, you never had to invest in the quarterback position. So it's so interesting and fun to see because it's so different from New England. And I really want them to trade up for Fields because it's just going to make it a lot more interesting. And I've seen a lot of mock drafts that has them linked to that number 7 pick. And I think if they do trade up, Fields could be their guy.
Yeah. That again, that's the one. If I was trading up, it'd be for Fields. It wouldn't be for Lance. I'm just not convinced. I'm not convinced that Lance, you couldn't get him at 15.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a long shot at this point, but I'm just not convinced at this point. Let's get into some picks real quick. And then we will wrap up the show. So for Wednesday night, I'll go first.
All right.
Today, we'll switch it up a little bit.
A little change.
We got the Maple Leafs playing the Habs Wednesday night. I'm going to take the Maple Leafs. We keep breaking this rule, but I don't care. Okay. I'm going to take the Maple Leafs. I just think Montreal's been wildly inconsistent at this point. And there's signs that the Leafs, the power play is starting to come back. And I just think that where they went through that stretch, I just think they ran some hot goaltending, and their goaltending wasn't too good. But there's signs showing that they're going to get on a bit of a roll here at the perfect time. So I'm going to take Toronto over Montreal. We also have a barn burner. We got the Kings versus the Ducks. We got the basement playing.
A must see.
Must see. I'm going to take
Battle of California. Must see.
Must see. It always is. I'm going to take the Kings over the Ducks. Let's move to baseball. I got the Angels playing off against the Rangers. I'm going to take the Angels. I mean, I just like the Angels. And the Rangers just aren't that good. So take the Angels. And then we got the Athletics versus the Rays. Athletics went on a huge run there, Kurt.
They were on a heater. They are cooking.
Yeah. And so I'm going to stick with them. I'm going to go back to the Athletics.
Right. Yeah.
So those are my picks for Wednesday night. What do you got?
All right. We're going to start off on the ice here. Avalanche at Vegas. I'm going Vegas. We got the Blues at Minnesota. Going St. Louis. And we'll go to baseball here. Twins at Cleveland. I'm going to take Minnesota. And to the association, I'm going to go Celtics over the Hornets.
I like the picks, as always, man.
Another CLP.
Fun. Another CLP.
Can't lose parlay. Lock it in.
All righty. Well, thanks everybody again for listening. We'll be back Friday, right?
Friday.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.